It's February, and it's around that time of year when people start to give up on their New Year's resolutions. If one of your goals was to improve your fitness, a big part of that is nutrition. A big reason people fall off their diets is failure to plan. So today, I'm going to show you how I prep my meals for the week so that I can meet my fitness goals while still being able to focus and have time for the things that I want to do. So first on the agenda, I'm going to make a protein shake, and then we're going to go head out to buy the ingredients for the things I need. Cheers! So we made it to Costco, and I think the first thing we need to talk about is for you to stay on track with your diet, you need to have some sort of consistency in the foods that you eat. This is why I think having a meal plan is great, because from there you can adjust the calories up or down depending on what you're aiming for. For my needs right now, I'm cutting, so I'll show you what I got once we get back to the house. So let me give you a quick little overview of what I ended up getting from Costco. First up, we have these frozen blueberries. I'm gonna put them back in the freezer because they're getting kind of mushy. The reason I got frozen blueberries is because sometimes it's nice to have emergency supplies of certain things. And you'll see that as I go along here, but I don't ever want an excuse to not get fiber from fruits or vegetables. So I'll always have them in the freezer just because I don't have to worry about it spoiling. Here I have chicken breast, because that's like the lean protein source that I eat the most. And there are times when I am not able to cook chicken breast or I run out of chicken breast during the week. Because of that, I have this option here. So this is just pre-cooked chicken breast. It's decently tasty, but I only really use it in case of emergency. So I'll have this in my freezer at all times. That way, if I ever run out of chicken, I don't need to stress out to cook it before lunch or whatever. I just take it out of the freezer and go. I have Frosted Flakes as my post-workout meal. Some frozen veggies, 2 bags actually. I like to get the variety blends just because you get different micronutrients, and if you want to keep changing up the bags that you use, there's 2 that I alternate in between. One of them is Primavera and the other one's the Costco brand. I like the Costco brand because it's cheaper most of the time, but it is still important to get micronutrients. So just pick a vegetable blend and vary it between like 2 or 3 of them. I also have 2 tubs of no-fat Greek yogurt. I got some Better Than Bouillon chicken because it makes rice tasty. I also got some fresh strawberries, so that way I could have something easy. And that's pretty much it. So now let's walk you through how I prep it. So the first key to having a successful meal prep is this thing called mise en place, which is pretty much French for everything in its place. Think about all the ingredients that you're gonna work with and any materials that you're gonna need for cooking, right? So cutting boards, sheet pans, actual pans or pots, and get them all out. Lay them out in a way that makes sense and in the order in which you're going to work. And then from there, decide on what makes the most sense to work and what order. So I'm working with strawberries, chicken, and ground beef. Because I'm working with those 3 things, it makes more sense to handle the strawberries first because I could just rinse the board in between. Whereas if I were to work with the chicken first, I would have to wash the cutting board in between, which would take longer. The goal here is to just make your life as easy as possible so that you can move faster. So the first thing I'll be doing with this meal prep is washing the strawberries. I'm just gonna take them all and put them in this large container. And from there, we're just gonna fill it with hot water. Hot water is going to be enough to go ahead and kill anything that might cause it to mold early. I used to hear that putting vinegar and stuff would help, but there's a cool article in Serious Eats that explains why hot water is enough. I'll link it in the description. Now that the strawberries are all washed, I'm going to go ahead and just prep them by grabbing as many as I think will fit on the board. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to de-stem them, so that way it'll be easier to slice them up later on. And something I wanted to talk about here was it's nice to have like a bowl or something so you could put your garbage in or your compost or whatever. So I just have these 3 containers here. I'm going to use one of them for garbage and then the other 2 for storage. So I'm just going to go through all the strawberries, going ahead and stemming them. The way I do it is I look for the stem over here, I peel it back, and then I dig the knife a little bit into the surface, and then I just put my thumb here and then make a circle around. So I go 1, 2, and then that's usually enough to be able to pull out cleanly. And then we throw that away in there, and then it's like this one has a little bit of like an ugly part, so let's take that out too. And then we'll just go ahead and do these for all the strawberries. And so now all the strawberries are destemmed. Depending on how you might like your strawberries, this is good enough for most people. I would just throw them in here and then call it a day. They're ready for the week and I just pull them out and eat, and I don't have to worry about the stems. Or the way I like to do it is a little extra, to be honest. I'm just gonna go ahead and dice them all up and then put them in these containers and make like a jam of sorts. I pretty much put like 0-calorie sweetener along with the diced strawberries, and then it makes it really nice to eat with like cottage cheese or yogurt. So like I said, I just like to go ahead and put on some 0-calorie sweetener. And from there, it just makes it like sweeter, especially when they're not in season. And it's just nice because then after time comes, it'll develop like some syrup at the bottom, and it's really, really delicious. When I weigh it though, I literally just weigh the strawberries, and then, you know, towards the end, I'll just throw the syrup after I weighed the strawberries. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and eyeball this and then stir it all together. Now we just mix it all up. Cool, so now we're ready with one of our ingredients. Something that makes cooking way more convenient is just cleaning as you go. That way you don't have one big mess at the end. So since I just used strawberries on here, I'm not like overly concerned about like rubbing too well, but I am just gonna give it like a quick rinse and maybe go over it with the sponge. And I'll just go ahead and wash this as well. And we'll go ahead and put it to the side. Before we go ahead and make the chicken, I'm gonna put the rice to cook just because that takes a while and because it's a lot more passive. I literally just need to clean the rice, put the water in, and then set it and forget it. So now we're gonna prep the chicken. So first things first, I like to remove any fat trimmings. So let's go ahead and do that with this one. We have some fat over here, so we'll just be careful and trim that off. Bam, bam. So on this side, looks like we mostly took care of it. So now, do the same thing with the other chicken. This is the secret sauce. So for your chicken breast to not be like super dry and stuff, what I like to do is I like to go ahead and butterfly it, which is pretty much you cut it relatively in half and then just try and make it open so that you can open that half up like a butterfly. So there we go. Once it's butterflied, I just literally place it over here and we're set. So now that the chicken is all butterflied, I'm gonna go ahead and take some olive oil in a spray and just do that so that way the heat in the oven can make it so that it cooks more evenly. For chicken breast, I kind of like to season it plainly just because it's nice to change it up throughout the week with different sauces. So now that the chicken is cooked, I just like to go ahead and take it over here. And we butterflied the chicken, remember that. So what I do is I cut the butterflied breast in half, and then each of those halves I dice it, which I do by literally just making 90-degree cuts of different thicknesses depending on how I like it. I usually like it like sort of a small to medium thickness. The only reason I dice it is because it makes it easier to be more specific with like the weight of chicken that I'm putting in there. But that's pretty much why I do it. And it doesn't really take that much longer, at least in my opinion. So I find it worth the effort. So now we just weigh out 90 grams of chicken because that's the portion size that I need for my meals. and I get as close to it as possible. Once it's like gets closer to 90, I'll start using like smaller bits of chicken. 91. I'll try and be exact, but to be honest, if it's like 1 gram off, I'm not like too bothered. Like at this point, I'm just gonna call it. And from there, now we go ahead and check on the rice. Here's the rice. Now during the week, I eat 100 grams of rice with each meal, and these meals are intended to bring to the office. So I'm just gonna go ahead and weigh that out. That's 80. That's 102, so let me take out for, I'm happy with 101, I'll take it. So now all I need to do is add 100 grams of frozen veggies to this so that my meal will be complete. There we go. And that's my meal. I just gotta do that until I run out of glass containers. Okay, so now we're gonna get the ground beef ready. So all I'm gonna do is cut open into this tube, and we're gonna just use the same sheet pan from the chicken, just because I like to avoid washing dishes as much as I can. By the way, you're probably wondering why I'm baking all of these things instead of just making them in pots and pans. Making them in pots and pans would be tastier, but to be honest, it's just baking these when you're making so much food, it's just easier to bake. So I now see why my mom did that a lot growing up, and I'm appreciative of it. But yeah, so now that we've got this ground beef in here, we gotta go ahead and season it up. So same deal as with the chicken, to be honest. I like to keep it rather, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily plain, but I do want to have it be able to be diverse. So that way if I want to put like different types of sauces on it and stuff, it'll all sort of fit in. So I'm literally just gonna put salt, maybe a little bit of pepper, garlic powder, and from there, the day of that I decide, hey, maybe I want like something more spicy, I'll put some Szechuan peppercorns or something. Our beef is seasoned. I've flattened it out into one layer, and the whole point of this is to get as much browning as possible. Once we have this, it's now time to set the broiler on high, and we're gonna put it in the oven and let it go for about 10 minutes. We'll keep an eye on it after it's done. Well, after those 10 minutes, just to see if it's brown enough. I typically with the broiler like to be extra careful just because things can burn really easily. But just from experience with my oven, I know that with my oven at the rack level that it's set at right now, it takes around 10 minutes for it to brown sufficiently. Okay, so now that the beef is cooked, I like to just chop it up into smaller pieces. While it's hot, I pretty much just come in here with a wooden spoon and just start like going at it. The reason I do it while it's hot is because the fat is like rendered out, and as it becomes cooler, it becomes harder to do this. I assume it's because the fat's like turned into like solid form. And right now there's like all this liquid around it. I'm not too worried about that because as we just keep like chopping it up, we'll just, you know, it'll probably integrate itself, and then whatever doesn't, it's fine. Sadly, I've run out of the glass containers, so these will have to go in like my plastic deli containers. I love the deli containers, but you know, I like to use glass when possible. I also want to see if I'm able to put the 100 grams of veggies in here, just so that way my life will be easier. Oh, let's go. This is gonna make life way easier, because this meal is literally just 90 grams of lean beef and 100 grams of frozen veggies. So it'd be cool to just have it all in one go. So I know it's hard to make it out with all of these things, but we got 1, 2, 3.5 days worth of chicken meals. We have 6 days worth of beef meals, fully assembled, and then a couple more just portions of beef. We just need to add the veggies later on. So I'd say this was pretty successful. I'm now set, and for when I run out of chicken halfway during the week, I have those emergency packs that I can access, and then when I have time, I'll be able to cook whatever the rest remains. If you made it this far, just want to say thank you for watching. I appreciate you joining me for a meal prep for the week. If there's any other meal ideas you'd want to see me meal prep in the future, let me know down in the comments, along with any other video ideas you would want to see. Bye.